DIY lovers, welcome back to the channel. So today's fashion DIY is going to be on how to make this beautiful face cap I'm putting on. So one interesting thing about today's tutorial is that everything about this cap is 100% DIY. Yes, I'm going to be showing you how to measure, how to cut, how to sew, and how to embellish this face cap. So I hear a lot of people say they find it difficult to get the brim for their face cap. That what they do, they buy an old face cap and remove the brim. No way, we are not going to do that today. You are going to be learning how to make this brim and everything about this cap. So if you are here to subscribe to this channel, I don't know what you're waiting for. After seeing this beautiful cap and you're here to subscribe to this channel, hit the subscribe button. Is totally free, and please do not forget to give this video a thumbs up. So without wasting time, let's get started. So these are the materials I'm going to be needing to make this cap. I have my jean fabric. You can also use any fabric of your choice. I have my matching bias strap. I have a little collar stay. So I also have my fiber board, which is also known as carry board. So this fiber board is sold by people that sell shoes and bag making materials in the market. So if you can't find this, you can ask any shoemaker around to help you get this. Yes, shoemakers use this board a lot. Strap adjuster. So this is what it looks like. This is my strap adjuster. And I have these flat stones I'll be using to embellish my cap, but this is totally optional. So the first thing I'm going to do is to measure around my head circumference, or the head circumference you are working with. So the head circumference I'm working with is 24 inches. So you can use 23 to 24 inches, which is the standard head circumference for an adult. So if you're making for a kid, just go ahead and measure around the kid's head circumference. So after measuring whatever thing you get, go ahead and divide it by 6 inches. So this is the reason why we are dividing by 6 inches. If you look at this face cap, you can see it has 6 panels. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that is why we are dividing this by 6 inches. So after dividing 24 inches by 6 inches, I have 4 inches. So from this point to this point is 4 inches, and the next part to mark is the height of this cap. From this point to this point is the height of this cap, and I'll be making use of 7 inches for the height of the cap. So what I have here is 4 by 7 inches. But if you are making this for a kid, go ahead and measure the kid's head circumference, divide by 6. Instead of 7, use 5 inches for a kid. So the next thing I'm going to do after marking this out, I'll be folding this into 2. After folding, from this point, I'm going to go up by 1 inch. After going up by 1 inch, I'll be making a slight curve from this point to this point. I'm not going to make this so straight, so I'm just going to curve it. I'm just going to curve it a little bit like this. So after marking like this, I'll go ahead and cut this out. After cutting, you should have your pattern looking like this. So I'm using this pattern to cut my fabric. Next step is to place this on my material, and I'll be cutting this, leaving ½ inch sewing allowance all around the pattern. So after marking ½ inch all around this for the sewing allowance, I'll go ahead and cut this out. So after using the pattern to cut this, leaving ½ inch sewing allowance all around it, so I'll be using this pattern to cut extra 5, Like I said at the beginning, we'll be needing 6 panels to make this cap, so I'll be cutting extra 5, making it 6. So after cutting 6 of this, the next thing I'm going to do, I'll pick just 2 of my panels. So I'm just going to pick my collar stay. I'll take these 2 patterns to my ironing table and iron the patterns to my collar stay. So if you look at this face cap, you can see that this front part is thicker than the rest. So this 2 is going to serve as this front part of my face cap. So I'll just take this to my ironing table and iron just 2 of these to my collar stay. After ironing the collar stay on only 2 panels, I'll keep this aside and I'll pick 2 panels without collar stay. So I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and I'll be sewing this by 1/2 inch, and I'll repeat the same thing for the other 2 without collar stay. So after sewing these 2, I'll just go ahead and trim this a little. So go ahead and trim the sewing allowance to 1/4 inch. So after trimming the sewing allowance to 1/4 inch, so the next thing to do is to get the bias tape. So I'll take this back to my sewing machine. I'll be using my bias tape to cover this rough part. So I'll be sewing this on this rough part and I'll be repeating the same thing on the other panel. So I've gone ahead to use my bias tape to seal off the rough part. You can see how neat it's looking. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'll just place these 2 like this. So I'll get one of these parts with the collar stay and I'll take this to my sewing machine and sew this by 1/2 inch. And I'll also attach the second one to this other part. So please take note, you can see how I'm fixing them. So this is the part with the gum stay. One will go with this and the other one will go with this. So I'll take this to my sewing machine and I'll be sewing this by 1/2 inch, and I'll be repeating the same thing on the other part. So I've gone ahead to attach the parts with the collar stay like this. So you can see after attaching, make sure they are facing each other like this. You understand? So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to trim this. I'm going to trim this sewing allowance to 1/4 inch. So after trimming, I'll take this back to my sewing machine just like this. I'll be covering this rough part with my bias tape and I'll be repeating the same thing on the other pattern. So after sealing the rough parts with my bias tape, so the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get the center of this. I'll bring this together like this. After bringing the 2 patterns together like this, I'll go ahead and sew this down by 1/2 inch, making sure these parts meet at the middle. So you can see that this center is meeting. So I'll go ahead and sew this by 1/2 inch. So after sewing, I'll go ahead and trim this to 1/4 inch. So after trimming this to 1/4 inch, I'll just turn this out like this, and I'll get my ironing ball. I'm going to put it inside the cap. I'll be using my hot iron to press this down, so just watch what I'm doing. So after ironing, you can see the lines are looking smooth. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'll take this to my sewing machine, and as usual, I'll be covering these rough parts with my sewing machine. So before sealing up, I'm going to turn this to the wrong side. So this is the center back and this is the center front. So at the center back, I will come up by 2 inches. So at the center back, come up by 2 inches, and I'll be going out by 1.5 inches. So I'll just make a curve to connect these 2 points. So after connecting, I'll go ahead and cut this out. So this is where we'll be fixing our adjustment strap. So I'll just take this to the sewing machine, and as usual, I'll be sealing this up with my bias tape. So after sealing up the inside properly, so the next thing to do is to seal up this part where we have this opening. So I'll be using my bias tape to turn this in. So we are done with the base of our cap. So the next thing to do is to cut out the brim for the cap. So to make the brim for this face cap, I'll be using this to cut out the pattern first. And the measurement I have here, what I have here is 8 by 5 inches. So this is 8 inches. And this is 5 inches. So I'll be using this to cut out the shape of the brim. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'll fold this into 2. So after folding, on this closed end, so this is the part that is opened. So on this closed part, I'll go up by 2 inches. I'll go up by 2 inches. And from this point, I'll make a curve to meet this point. So after making this curve, I'll come to the top of this paper. On this part where I have this opening, I'll go in by 1 inch, and from this 1 inch, I'll just make a little curve. So after cutting, you should have your pattern looking like this. So the next thing to do is to transfer this to my fiber board. So I'll just place this on my fiber board and trace this out. So after cutting this out, I'll cut another one because I want to double my brim. I want it looking very thick. So after cutting two of these, I'll be bringing them together with my gum. So this is the gum I'm using, the all-purpose adhesive gum. So I'll just use my gum to bring this together. After applying my gum, I'll let this dry for some few seconds. So after letting this dry for some few seconds, I'll just go ahead and bring the two patterns together. After preparing this, it's time to cut out the fabric to cover this. So just place this on my jean fabric and I'll be tracing this out, leaving about 1/2 inch sewing allowance all around this. So you can see I didn't cut exactly what I have on my pattern. I left 1/2 inch sewing allowance all around this pattern, so I'll go ahead and cut this out. So after cutting and leaving 1/2 inch sewing allowance all around, I will take this to my sewing machine. I'll be sewing this by 1/2 inch, but I'll be leaving this top open. So after sewing and leaving this part open, I'll just go ahead and make some little notches around this. After making the notches, I'm going to turn this to the other side. You can go ahead and iron this. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'll be fixing the brim pattern inside this. So after fixing this in properly, I'll take this back to my sewing machine and I'll be sewing this by 1/2 inch. I'll be closing this up to keep my brim in place. I've gone ahead to close this up. So the next thing to do is to attach this to the cap. The next thing to do is to attach the brim to the cap. So I'll just bend this to get the center of this and I'll just mark. So this is the center of my brim, and I also get the center front of my cap and I'll mark like this. So the next thing I'll do, I'll take this to my sewing machine. I'll bring these 2 points together and I'll sew this brim to the cap. After fixing the brim of the cap, so it's time to seal up this rough part. So I've gone ahead to cut a very long piece. So this is about 3 inches wide. So go ahead and cut a very long piece, long enough to go around the cap. So I'm using a soft material to do this, so you can use a cotton material. It's better to use cotton material for this part, or any material that can absorb sweat. So I'll just go ahead and fold this like this. I'll take this to my sewing machine. From this side where I have this opening, I'll be sewing this round my cap. So after fixing this, before using this to seal up permanently, it's time to fix the strap adjuster for the back of my cap. So I have these two little pieces here, so I'll just take this to my sewing machine. So this is about 7 inches and this is about 3 inches. So I'll take this to my sewing machine, and the width of this is about 3 inches wide. So I'll take this to my sewing machine. So for the longer one, I'm going to sew and close one end. Then for the shorter one, I'll just sew without closing any of the ends. So after sewing, I'll go ahead and turn this. So after turning out these two pieces, I'll pick the shorter one and get my strap adjuster. I'll just take this in like this, and I'll get my cap. So watch how I'm fixing this. So after fixing this in between like this, I'll take this to my sewing machine and make a very good top stitch on this. So make sure you double stitch very well so this doesn't pull out easily. So the next thing to do, I'll take this to the other side and repeat the same thing. So guys, after fixing this, you can see how neat this is looking. So it's time to seal this up permanently. So I'll take this back to the sewing machine. I'll just flip this in properly, and I'll be making a top stitch round my cap. So I'm going to be making this top stitch to keep this in place. So after top stitching, you can see our top stitch is looking very neat. I can see how neat our finishing is looking. See the inside finishing looking so neat. I'll just go ahead and buckle my cap. So this is for the adjustment. So with this, you can adjust this cap to any head size. So it's time to embellish the cap. So it's time to embellish my cap. Like I said, this is totally optional. You can choose to leave yours plain, or you can choose to embellish with any design of your choice. So I'll be using my hot glue to attach this. I'll be using my hot glue to make designs on my cap. So you can choose to arrange this on the brim. You can choose to scatter it around your cap, or whichever way you want this. So guys, I'm done embellishing my cap. So I'll just put this on so you can see how beautiful this is looking. So friends, this is me rocking my cap. So let me know what you think about this tutorial in the comment section, and please do not forget to hit the subscribe button if you are yet to subscribe to this channel, and please give this video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, and see you in my next video. Bye.